So in the previous video, we saw that if you're given a quadratic function, once you know what your a, b, and c are, you can calculate using formulas the vertex and the axis of symmetry and all that. And then really, once you get the y and x-intercepts, as you'll see in this example, you can make a rough sketch of the graph. So that's what we're going to do here. So here, as you can see, this is our quadratic function. So really, we have to figure out first what a, b, and c are. Or if you remember, a, actually let me just write it down here, just to make it a little bit easier for us. So 2x squared, 8x minus 3. Well, if you remember, normally, the general form, that is going to look something like this. So in this case, as we can see just by comparing, we have a is 2, we have b is 8, and c is minus 3. Remember, you want to make sure you include the negative sign, okay? You want to include the negative sign. Okay, so now that we have that, let's get the vertex. So the vertex, remember, is this. It has coordinates negative b over 2 times a, and then you do f of that. As you can see, remember, a here, of course, is not 0, so it makes sense to do this. Okay, so what's negative b over 2a? Well, let's see. So negative b over 2 times a, right? That's going to be negative 8 over 2 times 2. So what is that equal to? Well, that's negative 8 all divided by 4, which is negative 2. All right, that's good. Now, to get the y-coordinate, that is, we have this part here, but we want the y-coordinate, okay? So to get the y-coordinate, well, we do f of negative 2, that is. Okay, so we get 2 times negative 2 squared plus 8 times negative 2 minus 3. Okay, now the question is, what is this equal to? We have 2 times 4, right? Plus 8 times negative 2 is negative 16 minus 3. So we have 8 plus negative is the same as minus 3. So if I'm right, that's going to be negative 11. So now that we have the vertex, now we have the vertex. Okay, so let's get the other stuff. The vertex, remember, is a point. So our vertex then, actually, let me just make it easier. Let me do this. The vertex we have is negative 2, negative 11. Okay, that's good. Now, the y-intercept, okay? Well, for the y-intercept, that's easy. So this is our a. For the y-intercept, you just do f of 0, right? Well, it's the point, actually, I should say, 0, f of 0. Okay, so in this case, what we're going to have then is 0. So what is f of 0? Well, let's do that. That's going to be 2 times 0 squared plus 8 times 0 minus 3. So we're going to get minus 3. So our vertex then, excuse me, I made a mistake. There we go. That's going to be 0, negative 3. That's good. Now we want the x-intercepts. Okay, well again, let me just write down again what our quadratic here is, which is given. We have 2x squared plus 8x minus 3. So again, we have a is 2, b is 8, c is minus 3. So we're going to try and get the x-intercepts. Now, here, let's just dive right into the quadratic formula. I mean, sometimes you can just try factoring, but let's see if we can use the quadratic formula. Okay, so we have this. So what's our quadratic formula? Well, that's negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac. The whole thing is over 2a. Okay, so let's use that. So we're going to get negative 8 plus or minus square root of 8 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 3, all divided by 2 times 2. Okay, so what is this equal to? Well, we're going to get negative 8 plus or minus. We know 8 squared is 64 minus 4 times 2 is 12. 4 times 2 is 12 times negative 3. That's negative 36. Okay. All divided by 4. So it looks like what we're going to get is negative 8 plus or minus square root of, what am I doing? That shouldn't be there. Ran out of room, so let's do this. Negative 8 plus or minus the square root of 64 plus 36, which if I'm right is 100, and it's all divided by 4. So we know the square root of 100 is 10, so we have this here all over 4. Okay. Thought these x-intercepts were going to be nasty, but I was wrong. So we get negative 8 plus 10 over 4. Okay, so this is one of them actually. Let me just do this. So the first one, this is going to be 2 over 4, which looks like is a half, which if you round it, that's going to be 0.50. The other one looks like is going to be this. So that's going to be negative 18 over 4. So here what we get is negative 4.50. So now we're ready to actually sketch this thing. Okay, so let's do that. So if you remember, our vertex was negative 2, negative 11. We have the y-intercept was 0, minus 3. We just got the x-intercept, so the x-intercepts, they're actually supposed to be points. But let me write them out here. We got them to be 0.500, and the other one we got is negative 4.500. Okay, good. Okay, so now we're ready to make a rough sketch of this. So let's see if we can do that. So this one's not going to be 2 to scale, but I'll do the best I can. We have 1, 2, 3. Okay. 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. All right, so we have that. Here, let me do this by 2s. We have 2, negative 2, excuse me. 4, negative 6, negative 8, negative 10. Need a little more room, but that's okay. Good. All right, so this is what we have now. Okay, so let's label what we have. So the vertex we have is negative 2, negative 11. So that's going to be about here. We have our x-intercept is about here. The other one's about here. Here is our y-intercept. Okay, so again, I'm just labeling it on the axis. Okay, I mean it's not an actual grid. So it's going to be an approximation. But anyway, let's graph this as best we could. So it's going to look something like this. Okay. So of course, if you have something like in Desmos, you would get a much better picture. But the graph looks something like this.